going to walk you guys through a video with the tools that I found to be really effective and helpful for making these segmented arches and putting the beams together. So if you haven't seen my other videos, I go through the whole process on how these are made, but in this video I just want to show you the tools that I found to work really good. The first tool is going to be the Festool Domino. This is a segmented arch, so there's pieces that make up this arch, and to join those pieces together you need some kind of a tenon, and a biscuit doesn't work well. The domino is really ideal. Typically I'm using the 6 by 40 millimeters, and that gives it a really strong joint and also helps keep it straight. So this is a tool that I don't even know how I would do this without the Festool Domino. Again, 6 by 40 is what I like. And I like to buy these CMT bits off Amazon. They're half the price of the Festool bits. Some people say they don't last as long. I haven't had any problem with them. I'll link these below. The next tool that is absolutely essential are pinch dogs. These are 2-inch pinch dogs. I buy them in like packs of 10 off Amazon. I've got a ton of them. Again, this is another tool that I don't even know how I would do this without these, but I like to nail them in on the end grain from both directions, and that pulls these joints with the dominoes in them really nice and tight. And it's a really cheap way to do that, very fast and effective. Highly recommend these. I use them for a lot of different things. For cutting out the curve a little bit proud of my line, you can see that in the videos that I've made on how the process works. I like to use this corded jigsaw because I feel like it keeps the blade a little bit straighter, whereas my cordless DeWalt, the blade tends to wander and deflect a little bit more. This is a 244D blade. It's the same blade I use with my Collins coping foot. It's pretty aggressive and does really well on curves. Gets the job done quick without going dull very fast. So there are a couple different routing operations where I use this router and this bit. This is a big white side compression bit. It's a flush cutting bit that's got a bearing on the top and the bottom. Very expensive bit, but very effective. You won't get any tear out with this bit, and that's why I use it. It's on a Porter cable router. I'll give you a little bit of a closer look at this bit. So as you can see here, this is a really serious bit. It's got a bearing top and bottom, and you can see the way the spiral goes. This is actually a compression bit, so it's pulling the grain in from both directions. Then because of the size of the diameter of the bit, that's a much better bit not to get tear out, whereas you'll get a lot more tear out with like a 1/4 inch flushing bit or something like that. So this bit's expensive, but it's money well spent. Inside the truss beam, there's essentially webbing, and to do that I cut blocks of plywood and then I Kreg pocket hole screw those. So for that, to get that done quickly and effectively, I use this Kreg Foreman. One of the handiest things about it is it also allows me to put these pocket holes in at an angle by tilting the fence a little bit. So as you can see here, I've got it canted to the side, and that allows me to put these holes in at an angle, which is really important on these beams that are a little bit smaller, that you can't get a right angle attachment inside. But this tool has paid for itself probably 100 times over already. Highly recommend it. After the sides of the beams are put together and the webbing is installed and Kreg screwed, you've got your two sides, so then you have to put your top piece which bends and your bottom piece which bends. To do that, I either resaw or plane down boards to about a 1/4 inch to 5/16. From there, you have to get an extremely accurate rip at the width so that you don't end up with any gaps as you set that down in the rabbet. These are Jessam stock guides, and they do a couple things. Number one, they're spring loaded. So as you can see here, to set your depth, you're just going to put your workpiece under this far side, and then there's a ball on here that cants inward. So then as you push this through, because this wheel is canted inward, it pulls your workpiece into the fence and keeps it super tight to the fence. That's really important with a thin workpiece like this that's got to be perfect. You don't want to fidget and have your blade take off a little bit more in a certain area. This allows you to take your hands off, and it keeps that workpiece exactly where it needs to be. Also, with it being a thin workpiece like this, it keeps continuous pressure again, because these are spring loaded with quite a bit of pressure. So as you push those through, it keeps that workpiece down on the table really well. But I'll say about these things, I wasn't sure whenever I bought them if they were going to be worth the money or not. They have been worth every penny. I'm really glad that I have them. Most of the time I do not leave them on the fence because they tend to get in the way. They're super easy to take off. You just unscrew them, pop them off the track, and then I keep them in this drawer over here whenever I need them. Also, one of the most important tools is the rabbiting bit. This is the mole that goes on the top and on the bottom that gets bent around. So right here you have these 3/4 sides. You need to rabbit this in order to receive that mole. To do that, I use a white side rabbiting bit. It comes with multiple bearings that you can switch out to give you different depths. And then I really like to use this Festool router because I'll put this track guide on it, and that gives me another place to grab a hold of, and it helps as you're running that router along here to keep that thing from tilting, and just gives you a lot more security. So white side rabbiting bit and this Festool OF 1400 for that process, and I leave that rabbiting bit in this router all the time. So the next step, after we've got our sides on and our internal webbing in, and we need to get these moles installed, there's one thing we're going to need a lot of, and that is clamps. So I've come across these Bessie 12-inch clamps, and they work really well. They're not too heavy, but they're not too light. If you get the really heavy duty ones, they tend to really weigh down the work. So I've got 100 of these Bessie clamps now, and they work really well. I'm really happy with them as far as the clamping power, the size of the clamping surface, and the weight and stiffness of the bar. This is a Jorgensen clamp, and the bar on these are quite a bit heavier duty, but they're also a much heavier clamp. And with that, it's not always the best whenever you want to transport some clamps to the job site or carry a bunch of them or whatever. So these I really like. So then another key step in the process is sanding. And on these, I use two different sanders. One is a Rotex sander, which is nice. After you glue up these segments, you'll have some squeeze out and stuff that kind of tends to build up heavy. It's nice to have the quickness of the Rotex for that. But my personal favorite sander of all time is this Festool ETS EC 150 with the 5mm stroke, and that's what I use to go over the whole beam. Gets the job done really quick and leaves a pretty decent finish on it. So this is my favorite sander. I use 120 grit paper, and I think that is all the tools, at least the important ones. I've covered all of them now. So I hope you found this video helpful. Those are the tools that I found to really give me a lot of quality and efficiency when making these arch beams. I'll have notes, or I'll have links to all these tools in the notes below. Be sure to check those out, and comment below if you've got any questions. Thanks for watching.